There he is. There he is. So, Luka Nation, I don't know what the hell we're up to. 570 something of these darn things. There's a lot of them. But I'm going to try something new today. Get a lot of comments. Saying, that Andrew is a genius and I'm just a bloviating, pile over here and that I don't know what I'm talking about. A lot of comments like that. There aren't any, but I just wanted to give Andrew kind of like, little props here. But there was an episode a couple weeks ago where I got to ask Andrew the questions. And it was fun. A little different, right? Andrew loved it afterwards. And he was like, this is great, just kind of rapid fire. But when I asked the questions, I kept it in his comfort zone. Now, guys, we talk, but all we talked about today were NFTs. We talked about NFTs. He was going for a walk. I was shuffling. I was full of snot. We have not talked about cards. And this is going to come as a complete surprise to Andrew. He had no idea I was doing this. So you guys get to be along for the ride, the anticipation for this. Last time we did this was great because I asked basketball questions, and that's in his wheelhouse. But here we are on the Saturday before NFL Championship weekend, and I am going to ask Andrew some football questions. Not hard ones, but card-related football questions. And maybe, I'll chime in with what I think, but I have a feeling Andrew's going to hit these all right out of the park. So he has prepared. He hasn't researched. He hasn't done anything. It's all top of the head. So just give him a little fun. Give him a little leash here. But we have 4 quarterbacks playing tomorrow, and I'm going to go through each one of them and ask you what your thoughts are about their cards right now. Investing in them. Would you be a buy on them, a sell on them? Would you potentially wait until after the game and buy and or sell? So let's start with the easiest one of all. Patrick Mahomes.
That's the hardest one of all.
All right, so we'll save him to the end, okay? Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll go the other end.
Did you see the stat on Jimmy?
That he hasn't
thrown been in the playoffs
in 7 years?
2 NFC championship games. I think 5 playoff games. He's 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions.
He hasn't thrown a touchdown this whole playoffs. He's in the NFC championship game. He hasn't thrown a touchdown. It's amazing. Mahomes has like 10. He has 0. It's crazy. So talk to me about Garoppolo.
Well, the question with Garoppolo is how much team success overshadows individual success, because I don't think his cards could go lower, right? So to me, when you're looking at the Garoppolo market, he's god-awful as a quarterback. There's no doubt. There's actually two throws last week versus the Packers where it looked like he put it was like 2 miles an hour across the field. They should have been pick sixes, and it wouldn't have even had a chance to win that game. That being said, Kyle Shanahan is a GOAT. Like he's maybe the best young coach there is. So my question and curiosity is how much team success will overshadow in the short term player success, because I think they actually beat the Rams. They own the Rams. They have their number. And then you have Garoppolo, who in 2 years or 3 years, 2 Super Bowls. Again, more than likely he's going to be facing the Chiefs. You have that rematch. And if you guys remember that game versus 49ers versus Chiefs, the 49ers had that game locked up. And then there was the fourth quarter comeback by Mahomes. Remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
So I got to tell you, it pains me to say this, but if we're going from a purely investment perspective, I think if Garoppolo and the 49ers lose, nothing happens to his cards at all. But I think if Garoppolo and the 49ers win, his cards appreciate. And I actually think that he has the potential to win the Super Bowl. And then you're like, this is awkward. Will he be back next year? It gets really hazy. But I think there's a period of time where you could make a little bit of money.
Yes, I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on, Jimmy. I think the downside pales in comparison to the potential upside. He loses. Everyone expected him to lose.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, if you lose, you've now lost not once, but twice to a slow, white, geeky dork.
West Side Story.
No, very close. White men can't jump.
I never watched it.
Oh my God!
I don't support movies that are divisive and are about race. That's not my
divisive. It's Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. One of their many fantastic movies.
No one will tell me otherwise. I'm pretty sure I've seen Woody Harrelson biking through New York City. No one will tell me otherwise.
I mean, it's very possible, very possible. Yeah, but I mean, followed up by Money Train with Jennifer Lopez, just a horrible movie. But it had Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes in it together. So anyway, I like your analysis because you're right. Garoppolo loses. People thought he was going to lose. If he wins, there's potentially some upside there. So let's go to the other side of that game.
Card ladder, guys. And if you guys know the reason for this, why don't they have all cards on the platform? Like they don't have Jimmy G's cards. Well, not like all, but like G? No. There's well, they have the kabooms, but like a prism. Like I feel like a prism Jimmy G is pretty obvious. No, because I was trying to see how his cards were doing.
Yeah, you'd figure they'd add it when he makes the NFC Championship game.
Yeah,
but maybe not. Go to the other side of the equation.
Yeah, they don't even have this index, but I understand. Okay.
Go to Stafford. Right, there are some Stafford nut huggers out there. And there are people I saw all season posting, quarterback rating, QBR, all that stuff. And Stafford was near the top. And, like, how come Stafford doesn't get any love and blah, blah, blah. There's some Stafford fans out there. Tell me about Stafford. Would you be a buyer, seller, waiter? What's the story on Stafford? What are your thoughts?
Let me pull up his chart so you guys can see. So Stafford they have. Because I think context is important. Like, it's not just random, is this guy a buy or sell? It's also how have
what was that first chart?
Well, all time. So like since 2009.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Yeah.
Really, we're trying to look here. 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's take a look. So I guess this is last November, 2 months ago. His cards were at all-time highs. This is after the run-up. I guess people were anticipating that the Rams would win the Super Bowl, all that stuff. I'm not a big fan of Stafford. I think he's pretty overrated, and I think he has a lot of expectations baked in because if they don't win, the blame is going to be solely on his shoulders. It's not going to be on Von Miller and Aaron Donald. Like, no one blames defensive ends. Like, what can they really do? It's not going to be on Odell. It's not going to be on Cooper Kupp. It's going to be squarely on the shoulders of Stafford. And if they win, it's going to be Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and Sean McVay. So I actually think Stafford has more downside than upside. And I don't think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
See, the only thing I think
he's super overrated.
Like, you don't think he's a Hall of Famer? Okay. I mean, listen, he's got some great weapons, obviously. I mean, you talk about a wide receiver doing some stuff, but I mean, when Jerry Rice did the Triple Crown, he had a quarterback that people think of as the GOAT also. I mean, it's one of those kind of things, right? So I think that chart was a great analysis, the chart that Andrew has pulled up, because what it shows you is what you can expect the card to do at its high side. Right, because in November you had, they were number 1 seed, a lot of stuff baked in, what his index could do, and while it has moved up slightly, if he wins the Super Bowl, it's going right back there, if not a little bit higher, at least right after he wins the Super Bowl. So there is some upside, but then you have to ask yourself, is he getting through this week? And then if he gets through this week, is he getting through next week? You know what I mean? Is he getting through the Super Bowl? And that's going to be tough, right? I mean, Rams don't match up well against either of the AFC teams. You got to think it's probably going to be Mahomes just because that seems to be the way that it's heading. And I think the Chiefs beat the hell out of the Rams. I don't even think the Rams get there, to be honest.
If you look at this, if you go through card ladder, look at his indexing, I think a really cool way to segment the index as well is base versus refractors. You'll actually see that the refractors are still near all-time highs. Where the base, even though the base isn't that high pop, I think there's only 115 PSA 10s of his card.
They're the ones bringing his overall index down. All right. Oh, that makes sense. People taking profit on some of the, the less valuable stuff, and that's bringing down the index a little. Makes sense.
And the people that hold the blue refractor or the refractor, they're collectors. They're pure. They love Stafford. They're just that's their guy. But from an investment standpoint, I don't know. I'd pass on him.
And just a quick little, so if we're not loving Stafford, if the Rams do happen to make it, I mean, are you an investor in Cooper Kupp? You think maybe his cards are something you take a look at? You think with the season he's had and you add a Super Bowl to it, it becomes one of the greatest seasons a wide receiver's ever had. He throws down, a good couple of playoff games here and maybe a Super Bowl MVP. Is that somebody you take a look at to invest in? I mean,
I would. I think he's a boss, man. I think he's freaking good, but I would just wait till the off season because look at this run up. Like his cards are near all-time highs. So it's 450. And this is his card, the 2017 Prism. Which Cage? I'm curious. Do you think this 2017 Prism, from an NFL standpoint, could become like the brand? There's a lot of players in this 2017.
A lot of good rookies. I mean, they're peaking now. There's a lot of good players in that 2017 Prism. And for football, it didn't. They were not printing it. They didn't have the machines on 24 hours a day because it hadn't hit yet. You know what I mean? 2017 basketball is a little bit more, but even that, it wasn't up to 2018 numbers. 2018 had a lot of QBs. I mean, obviously Mahomes in 17 and Watson, but 2018 right. Baker led the way, believe it or not, and then Darnold. Right. And even though those two were on the top, you also have Josh Allen in there. You have Lamar Jackson in there. You got a lot of good QBs in 18. 17 is kind of a little bit slept on, and there's some really good players. Remember, Michael Thomas is in there, and his cards. I bring that up as a great comparison because people get hurt. Look at Michael Thomas's cards if you want to. I mean, he didn't play all year, but remember, he was the one coming into the season everybody was looking at. And he had a great rookie year. You're looking at the 18 Josh Allen's.
Yep.
I mean, I was going to actually do a little bonus with Josh Allen and Tom Brady, so you can get your brain wrapped around that if you like.
Ready to rock.
Now let's go to the other side of the equation, right? The other side of the equation. It's AFC now. Are you a buyer or seller of Joe Burrow? And you know who's coming after that.
Joey B, man. He's as hot of a stock as it gets. He's a stock that his fundamentals, his price to earnings might be a little bit too high right now, but man, people fucking love him. People are creating content like, hey, Joey Burrow, this message for you. Please, we don't want to see Jackson Mahomes dancing at the Super Bowl. You got to knock out the Chiefs. So, I mean, Joey Burrow's Joey Cool. He's won over the public. And what do they say? The gladiator, win the fans, win your freedom.
That's it.
I'd pass on investing in Joey Burrow until the offseason.
So what's funny about
But dude, how crazy would it be if he won
Chuck
the
Norris.
Super Bowl?
He's Chuck Norris. That's what people are comparing him to now. He's like Chuck Norris. It's like, look, what happens when Joe Burrow gets hit by a truck? Poor truck, like he's Chuck Norris. You know what I mean? He's all of a sudden he's untouchable. And what's funny about it is they won 4 games last year, so you could view this season already as a success, right? Even if he loses, he's going to go in as an underdog. I think the tough part is just the incredible run up on his cards. You look at the chart, right? You'd think they would take a pull back, right? Because, there's some success already baked into it. But it is a successful season. The thing is, next year becomes harder, right? Because next year, they have to have the same type of magical run. He's got to go one step further. So if he loses in the championship game, he's got to get to the Super Bowl next year. You know what I mean? It just, it becomes harder. The expectations are there, right? Look, yeah, you got it. Little Joey B.
I'd put him in this bucket. Highest risk, highest return. Because, Cage... Yeah. So
he wins.
On the Whatnot show, we talked about Bengals already played the Chiefs. And I remember watching that game. It was a shootout. And in the first half, the Chiefs had a chance to kind of run away with that game. And there was this one play where it was kind of like a slant over the middle, maybe 15 yards, to Jamar Chase, and he just torched the team. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And it was sort of like the Tyreek Hill touchdown last week versus the Bills in the fourth. It was just he just outran everybody. And it kind of saved the game because I believe they were down by 2 touchdowns in the game. And I was like, the Chiefs are going to blow these. Kept them in it. Huge touchdown. Changed the whole momentum of the game. But I was like, if these 2 teams met in the playoffs, to me, it's a no-brainer. The Chiefs win. And that game was in Cincinnati. This game is in Arrowhead. I'll say, though, if they do find a way to win, because we've seen crazier things happen. It's football at the end of the day. I mean, dude, you see – the lid comes off of this thing, no? This becomes 7, 8. The thing that moves cards and stocks oftentimes isn't fundamentals, it's FOMO. Yep. There becomes some insane level of FOMO there, in my opinion.
Somebody like me who sold the color match orange, I'm looking to get back in. I'm like, oh, man, I shouldn't have sold. I'll take a little bit of a hit. I'll get back in. Yeah, there's FOMO. It's real life, man. It's a real thing.
Here's the second 100%. Thing. There's only 108 silver PSA 10s. And I'm using the silver as an index, but you guys go orange, do your thing on it. Because PSA has been closed. They're not getting cards back. So that while the supply is so low, there's definitely over 108 people that are FOMOing into Burrow. So if they do win, I think maybe buying a Burrow is better than putting a bet on the Bengals, right? Because worst case scenario, they lose, that card comes regresses a little, but you could always sell it. If they win, man, that card I think runs a little bit for the next 2 weeks.
I think you're right.
And
Little Burrow. Give me Patty Mahomes.
I mean, what's to say about that guy? I mean, who's had a better run in his first 4 years of the NFL?
Here's what's funny about him, right? People are like, oh, he's going to be the next Brady. And then, oh, shit, maybe he's not. He hurts his knee and then wins anyway. Oh, shit, now he's going to go back and Brady's out and he's not. And he wins again. Take a look at his Prism Silver. It is still significantly off its highs. I mean, a lot of cards are. But I'm using the Prism Silver for you as, because that's what you've been using. I mean, some of his other cards are not down. But take a look at the Prism Silver. Look at the chart on it. It's still not. It's still not back even close to where it was. After that Super Bowl. Look at that. Look at his chart. Very different chart there. Very different chart than all the other guys. The Cooper Kupp one, where to the right, where more recent it's up, right? And that he hasn't won a Super Bowl in 2 years. It's been to 4 straight AFC Championship games. He hasn't won a Super Bowl in 2 years. That's after the Super Bowl, right? That peak there.
After they lost to the Bucs, right here.
Right. So there you go. Right. So. And it's high, and then, people thought, oh, it's going to run up. Maybe he beats Brady. Doesn't beat Brady. And it's kind of trickled down. If he wins another Super Bowl, he's got multiple Super Bowls. He's got the MVP. He's got that crazy comeback game. You're starting to build up this, the new man in the arena type of story, right? I mean, really, there's no other way of pointing it out. I don't like Mahomes. I think he happens to be overrated. A lot of that comes from my Raider fandom. But he kicks our ass all the time. There's something to be said about building up that legacy. And his cards, they're down. I mean, what is the value on that silver now? What was the high? Over 10, right?
7,000 right now.
And its high was over 10.
5.
Right? 15.
50.
I mean,
there's a few things. This is like, in my opinion, investing or econ like 301. Because the other guys are a little bit more clear cut. This guy, there's a lot going on here. So if you remember last year, not only was he, this run up after he won his first Super Bowl, but it was also the timing of everything that happened. You had maybe one of the biggest bull runs in card history, right? How
many are there, by the way?
883.
Okay.
Right. So last year, 1 year ago today, remember it was the Jordan when it sold for 780. So there was a huge bull run. In addition to that bull run, he got to the Super Bowl. So there was these two huge catalysts that made the card get ahead of itself. And now what made it drop, in my opinion, was not just the fact that, okay, they lost the Super Bowl. His cards already run a lot, so people are taking profit. It was also some cards were still at PSA getting graded and coming back. Because that
remember, that's
883.
Silver. It's not really a silver. Let's remember
right.
that. In 2017, all the rookies were silvers like that. So it's not really, that's like a base rookie.
But we just saw it. Cooper Kupp had like 100 of them graded.
Yep.
Mahomes has 800, so 8x. So he has a lot of supply for that year too, in a PSA 10, and that's not even taking into account PSA 9s and BGS 9.5s. And I think what we saw there was a little bit of like, you see this with NFTs. It's investors and flippers getting out and getting into the hands of true collectors. Now, I'm curious if true collectors hold that card because I do believe that it has a lot of upside long term. I don't know short term how much that card is impacted if they win the Super Bowl. I think very little, maybe a little bit. But
really, I think it goes back over 10 if he wins the Super Bowl from the 7 and change that it's at now. I do. I think there's a 30% run up there. I think 10 is the new number for it.
Fine, but let's even just say 10. I mean, that's not a huge run up. 7 to
from
10.
7 and change. That's 7 to 10 is almost 50%. That's a big run up in 2 weeks. If you could buy the card now for 7 and sell it for 10, that's a pretty big run up. I mean, I'm not saying to get back to 15 and maybe it doesn't get.
What if he doesn't win though? Right, we're going left and right.
I think the downside is not so. I mean, it has come down, right? I would look at where was it after week 4, right, or 5-6 weeks into the season when they were losing, and people were writing his obituary because the team didn't look good, and now they haven't lost since. What was it there? 6,500, 6,800. I mean, it doesn't look like it's gone up tremendously since then. I think there's your downside. I think it goes back down to the 6. I think it may have 10% downside with 30% upside, which is the kind of thing I look for. Look at that. It's basically been static with some small ups and downs for the whole season, right?
If you get rid of this and you kind of draw a line through it, you think kind of like maybe right here is where it deserves to be.
Well, a little lower, lower. I would say like 10. I would say it should be like a 10. If he wins, it's 10 and continues on its little trajectory upward. And I mean down. I mean, he had at one point this season, people were selling Mahomes. People were we did our collectible episodes, and they were losing bad. And the team didn't look good, and he didn't look good. He was throwing interceptions left and right every week, right? And it didn't fall, right?
Well, here's that sell-off. It went from 8K in like October to 7, 6, 7.
Right. So 72, 6 and change. I mean, where are we now? 7?
Yep. I mean, I know what you're saying. It hasn't rebounded from that sell-off, even though performance has changed. I agree with that. Yeah. That's fair.
So, and maybe it's hard to get. Maybe it already has, and card ladder's going to catch up. And if you actually go out and look for it now, it's 7,500 or 8 now to actually buy one. Who knows? But I just don't think there's much downside in that, because people are like, okay, Mahomes made it to his 4th straight championship game. If he happens to get knocked out by Burrow, great. It's he got beat by Brady last year. He'll be back next year. You know what I mean? Like, the team's a juggernaut. He's building up a resume. No one's really done this. I mean, except Jim Kelly. But Jim Kelly never actually won any. With the Bills when they made four Super Bowls.
In my head, and this is all messed up. Like a lot of investing is fundamentals, but it's also a lot of investing is you versus you. Like I'm like Mahomes, who has had a better 4-year career? 4-year start to no one, right? I feel that there's more downside in the future than upside, and now that you're explaining it, I actually disagree with that. But that's where my hunch goes. Like, this guy's had an amazing 4-year run. There's no way he could keep it up. Right?
I mean, it's true. It's very possible. I mean, and we talk about all these AFC guys. I mean, look, Burrow took a huge step. Maybe next year it's Herbert. Maybe Josh Allen catches him. And, I mean, we're talking about 13 seconds away from having a very different conversation about him and knowing what the downside would be if he didn't make that miraculous comeback. But adding that miraculous comeback is just another page in the Mahomes book. It adds to the allure, the aura. It's a tuck rule game. It's a snow kick for Vinatieri. It's it's another one of these Brady, Eagles comeback. It's not the Super Bowl per se, but it's I have to stop fighting the winners. We fight LeBron, right? We fight, but ultimately,
no, you said stop fighting the winners. The winners, you said.
Listen,
it's been a long time since they've won, Cage.
I was listening to the crossover last night with you use Card Ladder more than anybody in the world, and they should give you a royalty for how many times you use Card Ladder on our episodes. But during their crossover last night, they went on. Josh went on a whole diatribe about LeBron and how he's playing, and the level he's playing at, and all that stuff. But, that he really shouldn't talk about him because he was talking about a loss. And one of his losses was Brandon Ingram. And that, he'll admit to the fact that he bought a lot of Brandon Ingram cards because, when LeBron was signed to come to the Lakers, he just assumed that Ingram was going to take it to the next level. But as we all know, LeBron has never made any of his teammates any better. They said that on the crossover. So my comment to them was, Andrew says, thanks for listening, guys. It's the shot heard around the world. Your LeBron take is still being talked about.
I think what they're realizing is that it's a statement of fact and not a statement of my lack of respect or for LeBron. I just think that every single player in the last 3-4 years that's been around him has not gotten worse necessarily, but they've left and they've improved their game and they've had more freedom to shine. Even stupid oversized shirt wearing Kyle Kuzma is like an all-star
a sweater
on the Wizards. And with LeBron, he doesn't know his role. And yeah, man, I can't imagine. That's my problem with Josh, not Josh the person, Josh the fan. How can he say LeBron's playing well? Because he looks at the box score and sees him padding the stats. That team has been a disaster all year, man. Just admit it and call a spade a spade. That team is a disaster.
Russell Westbrook is pretty terrible. I will say that. Russell Westbrook, that did not work out the way they wanted to. The halftime the other day, I texted you guys, his plus minus in the last game was minus 27 at halftime.
That team had more fight in the second half than the team has had all year, Gage.
Yeah, they did. They did.
And here's my thing. This is your team, bro. You're the guy. How long are you going to let the media and everyone else just destroy the teammates that you've chosen to bring in? And until you say, yo, this is my team. Stop pointing fingers at Westbrook or Vogel or anyone else. this is my squad. I picked these guys, and if
you froze. LeBron shut off the internet in Mexico. He has that kind of power. You froze for a second. I'm sure he'll be back. But, the LeBron slander will be stopped one way or the other. So they found you. The federales came and shut the whole thing down. LeBron called in on the Commissioner Gordon bat phone and said, boom, shut down his internet. Let's go. And, we didn't even get up to the fun part, man. We didn't even get the fun part of the analysis. I wanted to talk about Josh Allen, and then I want to talk about Tom Brady. So I'm hoping this handsome guy, guys, if you're on YouTube, this is great because like a minute, it's like a frozen face, just completely frozen. He'll be back though.
I was on fire.
You were on fire. It was horrible. It was a horrible place to stop. I said LeBron contacted the federales and just killed the internet in Mexico. Just killed it like that. That's it. Done.
No, but
said, hey,
how long when the team doesn't perform well is it going to be everyone else that the media picks on? But when the team does do well, he gets the crown. Like Heavy is.
So that's where the crown. I get what you're saying, man. I get it.
You got to stick up for your guys, man. You can't just keep letting them be beat up, and because that's going to crush their confidence. It's going to destroy belief on that team. So I don't know how we actually started talking about LeBron from Mahomes.
We were talking about just your shot heard around the world because you were using Card Ladder and that they were on the episode. But Haj did follow it up and saying that we did a nice job with Peter Steinberg from
nice.
SGC.
Oh, they do listen to our show? That's flattering. I still can't believe people listen. I got to be honest. Like, I still have that imposter thing. Like, you guys listen to
I'm in their chat, like, I listen to those guys. I tried to share, they're talking about losses, and I told them about me buying Andre Drummond. I mean, we all have our losses.
Can I put a bow tie on this Mahomes thing?
Sure.
Here's where else I went with, like, investing in Mahomes. People forget that, Brady now he puts that photo of 7 rings. But people really forget, and if you guys watch The Man in the Arena, he won 3 early, and there was a 10-year drought.
We talked about that, 100%.
A 10-year drought. So, like, Mahomes, let's say, wins 2 Super Bowls, right? He could still have 5 to 7 years
of nothing,
win 4 more,
and then come back,
and end with like the great. So, like, this whole thing, man, it's not always as easy as it seems to buy and sell and make money. So. That's where I'm at on it.
Listen, you know what I kind of like? I kind of like, especially like we talk about Burrow, I like that there's prospecting that can still pay off. You can make a bet on a player and it works. You know what I mean? Because people need that. Now, hobby can't just be open a box of Flawless, and if you happen to hit a 1-on-1, you sell it and make money. Everything else goes to consignor and you try to get back as much as you can. It can't be a slot machine, right? There has to be something else to it. There has to be fandom and attachment to the stuff, right? It has to be, I am a Bengals fan, and I'm going to buy Joe Burrow. That's going to be the guy I pick from this. That was who I liked last year. I sold the card that I had of him. Only bought one, only kept one.
The day after the injury, I think we talked about giving him as a play. I'm 100% confident.
Yeah, 100% after the injury. So buy his stuff. I thought he's every bit the player that Herbert is. And Herbert might turn out to be great too. And, there are people who are now holding Herbert, and his stuff may go down a little bit because he didn't make the playoffs. And next year, he may be in the AFC Championship game in the same spot that Burrow is. And people are saying, hey, I am being rewarded for holding his stuff through some thick and some thin. There's got to be a little bit of that. So I like that there's this new blood. Burrow's in with Mahomes, who's on his way to be in the next big thing, throwing a little Stafford who's never really got there, but there are fans of his who have held him for a little while. I don't know that many Jimmy G collectors, but it's a fun little thing. So, bonus, Josh Allen. Talk to me about Josh Allen. Are you a buyer, a seller? His cards haven't really dipped. I'd love to see what your old friends at Card Ladder have for his stuff on the index just for the last week. After that monstrous game that he had there. I thought that his stuff would take a little bit of a dip, and maybe some of the lower end stuff has. But people, that game is like instant classic.
I think we are we're very captivated with one game performances.
Yeah.
I remember something similar, and I think this is good for the market, bad for Josh Allen. So I'm pulling it up, so I apologize, guys. I'm not great.
Well, listen, one game. Remember, the NFL playoffs. This is one game. This is a whole 7-game series. They're all game 7s. So football, it's more of a microscope for that one game, right? Because the whole season is only 16, 17 games, and the playoffs are do or die. So you're going to see, I don't know if they have just what happened last week to him, But is that the silver is $13,000? Holy shit.
There's only 26 of them, Cage. Because remember this year was a really tough grade, apparently, or something like that.
Yeah, the silvers were one per box, right?
This is so weird. An old label on a brand new card. Huh. Fascinating. I don't know how that happens. But dude, actually, here, let me see. Oh, here, 2 years. Let's go. 2 weeks is the smallest time frame. What do you mean? No, there hasn't been a sale. Gotcha.
Yeah, because there's 26 of them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
let me go base then on it.
Let's go base.
So this reminded me, and for the market, it's good. So for the market, I think that performance should drive short-term results. But this reminded me a lot of the Luka game winner. Do you remember that in August when I don't even think that they won that series? I think the Clippers still went through, but he had that one game winner and his cards went through the roof and never to be seen again. $2,200 for the base prism. That's where I'm at with Josh Allen. I think super overreaction to one amazing performance. So much of that lines up. Like just the game goes well. You have a good game plan. The other team's not ready for you. You know, like a lot of that performance is an overreaction than a reality of like, this is the next greatest quarterback ever. So he might never revisit the high prices that we've seen with him. So that's where I'm at with Josh Allen. I think short term, next 3-6 months, very, very bearish. Maybe there might be an opportunity to buy on the run up for next season, but I don't think those cards are going to actually dip as much as you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Now, Brady, what do you think?
Rumors I don't think he's retiring. I think this whole rumor mill thing, the internet's a weird place. Anyone could start a rumor and the news don't even verify it. It's like it's the Denzel Washington quote. It's not about being right. It's about being first. You know what I mean? Like Adam Schefter now wants to release something before, I don't know who the shams of the NFL is. Probably Schefter.
A Woj bomb.
Yeah, like they all want a Woj bomb
first.
Because then they get the most clicks and all that stuff. I would wait. I think buying the dip on Brady's smart if there is a dip.
Can I throw something out there?
Sure.
How about Brady on the Titans?
Oh, with Vrabel?
He used to throw him passes. I mean,
did they not think he would want to move? I don't think he wants to move again, man.
He wouldn't have to move. It's Tennessee. Whatever. You go there part-time. Go there, for 6-10 months, whatever the hell it is. Why? Because Tennessee has a defense. Tennessee has a running back. Tennessee has some wide receivers. Tennessee has a coach. Tennessee is a Ryan Tannehill away from going to the Super Bowl. And if you replace Ryan Tannehill with Tom Brady.
And Derrick Henry?
I mean, they have a Derrick Henry. I said a running back. I mean, does that not become an automatic favorite to win? And if he does
I don't think he retires.
But if he does come back, don't you think he wants to be an automatic favorite? Like, does he go to San Francisco if they lose in the championship game and they're done with, ass Garoppolo? Does he go and have another little like chapter to his career where he screws over Garoppolo one last time? Remember, Jimmy G was the one they drafted behind, Brady. And then allegedly, how the story goes, Brady had to force him out of town.
Yeah, now looking back, that's obviously a lie. Like you look at you're like, you don't have to force him out of town. The guy sucks. He's gonna force his own way out of town.
It's fun to think about this, right? With the quarterback, roundabout that's gonna happen. I mean, look, you're 45 years old. You're probably not gonna go play in Green Bay, although they were a 1 seed and Rodgers gonna lose. He doesn't want to go. I'm 45. I got my hoodie on because I'm still cold from shoveling for 3 hours today. He doesn't want to go in the snow. I mean, it's hard to leave Tampa. It's hard to leave Florida.
It was part of the reason Roethlisberger struggled this year. Like, if you look back, I don't think he threw a touchdown in the first half for most of the season because
to warm up.
You got to warm up a little bit, and when it's cold, let's talk a little bit about
Ben Gay was tough.
Yeah,
listen, I like the dream. Like Brady in Tennessee, that's got me like, woo, that could be a fun thing. It's still warm there, still nice weather. He knows the coach, obviously.
Friendly for taxes. I think
good offensive line, right? I mean, come on now. I mean, just think about something like that. Good.
I think the whole family thing is overblown. I hear it, but I think the whole family thing's overblown. The guy looks healthy, man. The guy looks as fit as he ever has, and he loves playing, and he likes to compete. I don't think you just hang that up for no reason.
He led the league in passing yards and touchdowns. Forget about how old he is. No one did more than he did with an insane asylum around him. Not to mention, if he goes to Tennessee, he probably brings Gronk, making it even a bigger juggernaut. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, it's just funny to think about it, right? Like,
if I go to Barstool, I'm bringing you with me.
And then I appreciate that. Throw another one in, right? We talked about the AFC quarterbacks, right? Because we're talking about like how you have Herbert and Burrow and Lamar and Mahomes and Josh Allen. Well, Rodgers might be going to the Broncos in the same division as Herbert and Mahomes, right? We don't know where Russell Wilson's going to, and bring Brady over to Tennessee. Maybe I'm throwing it out there. It's just my own brain.
So you think it's one of these off seasons where we see a lot of movement?
Yeah, I think the quarterback carousel is going to be insane. I definitely do. I don't know who's going to be left in the NFC at all. You know, if I'm Deshaun Watson, you know, picking where I'm going, I might go to the NFC and win an MVP. You know, I mean,
Deshaun doesn't pick where he goes. Deshaun's going to be lucky to see the NFL again. Dude, that's weird. Like, they're like kind of like blacklisting him. It's like, they do that, right? Like, they don't want him back in the NFL. So, like,
I mean, you can't really do that, but obviously it's been done, you know? I mean, Colin Kaepernick, say what you want. I mean, there are some quarterbacks out there that clearly he was better than, and he didn't get back in there.
I mean, like, due process, right? Like, you go through the trial. You haven't heard anything about the accusations since, like, was it 18 months ago?
Something like that.
I mean, how long does a trial take to happen? And if there's no trial, like, can you just take someone's earnings with, like, I thought this is innocent. He got paid for last season?
I'm pretty sure he was getting paid. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he got paid.
I don't know. It's so weird. So much above me. Let's talk about StarStock, because this is a topic I'm really passionate about. And I think this is for.
Hold on.
What's going on? I don't know what is happening. Oh, he's going to show him love. That's the kind of guy Cage is. Here I am going to kick a dog while they're down, and Cage is like, nah, let me...
Well, look, we're fair and balanced. I knew where you were going, so I figured let me put on my StarStock hat. It's a nice hat. You know, I got a big head, and it's a small hat, so it looks even smaller because I got a big head.
The funny thing about that is I actually don't know where I'm going with this.
Because there's nowhere to go.
I wanted to give myself a pat on the back, because...
So pat yourself on the back. Go like this. Let me see.
Guys, by no means, like you guys see I'm living in Mexico, but by no means am I living large. And Cage and everyone could attest to that. Like, I'm not out partying, not out, spending tons of money. So when people approach us to sponsor them, I take it seriously because it's money in the bank and it lets me live the life and create content daily, right? So, like, Cage knows I don't have another job. This is my livelihood. I compete. I want our podcast to do well. I want to do right by the people that work with us. So every dollar in matters.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But when they've approached us in December of 2020, January, they were a raw card submission company, right? They're like, we saw a need. We're going to be the raw card vaulting service so people can buy and sell raw cards. And Cage even said raw is dead. There's a huge opportunity. Mm-hmm. Since that time, they went from raw to, we want to kind of be a marketplace for graded cards, right? To
vintage, high-end slabs. First it was regular slabs, then it was high-end slabs.
To, in June, right before National, they approached us to be a breaker. And we must have had 5 to 6 calls with them. And I was like, dude, as much as I hear you, and they're like, come to the studio in Manahawkin, I think it's called, New York. We're not breakers. That's not what we do. And I want the money. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I want the money, but I don't break, and I can't leave people breaking. They became like a live auction site to a breaking site. And then they were auctioning off NFTs. And the point of that was we had an opportunity since June to now. They've been reaching out to partner with us. And I'm proud of us that we left money on the table, for short-term money on the table to preserve our reputation, because it would have been easy to take money, tell people to go sign up for their business, support all that stuff. But I sensed in my gut that a company that's always jumping from business model to business model to business model is destined to fail. Now, I'm not saying that they are failing, but when you lay off a bunch of your staff and you say, we're way behind on our submissions, that to me is alarm bells, alarm bells, alarm bells. But I'm glad I have the intuition and Caged as the mentorship just to put.
You muted yourself.
To put off the short-term financial gain, which means money in my pocket for the sake and the reputation of what we're all about. So that's actually where I went with it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the only thing I'll say is we're 48 hours into this. I mean, I don't know what happened. I'd love to let the dust settle and kind of figure it out. It seems like they're now putting other information out there, right? There was the first announcement about no longer taking in Raw, and then the next announcement kind of came out that they're kind of reassessing what they're doing. I think that they can probably do a good job of messaging out things to the community, because if you don't and you just kind of throw it out there like that, people will just be left to wonder. And when people are left to their own devices to wonder, they all assume the worst, especially when there's, more information being put out by, people, ex-employees, you name it, on Instagram comments to your post rather than what you're putting out there. There's the ability to message things out. I mean, I'd love for them to come on and chat once they have themselves figured out. I'm sure they probably don't want to come on because they don't know what they're doing yet. But we don't, it's not about the sponsorship or the money or anything like that. But, we can provide a platform for them to kind of talk about what's going on. And listen, let's be honest, right? Let's throw this out there. If StarStock is in the dark feeling their way around, you have to know that they're not the only ones. And let's be as honest as we can, right? This hobby, I mean, you make faces, and maybe I'm wrong, right? And you can comment, but
I'm making faces because it's my candid response, not because I don't respect your opinion.
But I get where you're coming from, and you think it's the what they did specifically. But think about it, right? We've already
it's a symptom from the same disease. It's a lack of consistency. People want to skip steps and they don't want to put in brick by brick by brick. You hold yourself to a way different standard than you hold other business. We show up every day.
But I'll never hold anybody to the standard I hold myself.
But Gage, we show up every day. We got offers to do, let's do a crypto show, or let's do this, or let's do that. But no, let's just get what we do really, 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 really good, and then start branching out. Sorry.
I get it. Trust me, I get it. I guess what I'm saying is this, right? There are a lot of companies that came into this in the last couple of years. And we've had the opportunity to talk to companies that have had success, that pivoted, that have grown their brand. They've built it slow. They haven't just opened the floodgates and said, give me everything, right? They haven't just gone out and tried to expand a million times over, new locations and all that other fun stuff, right? But there are
custom slabs, horizontal slabs, more offices.
You understand what I'm saying, right? I don't think that StarStock is the only company in the position that they're in now, and I wish them well, and I hope that I'd love to help them. I think that they can pivot and figure out which one of the many things they've done over the last year that they are the best at, that they can move forward with and make money and be a good value for their customer base. I think that they have too many, what we like to call too many coals in the fire, right? Too many horses in the race, and they should really focus on training the best one and letting it run and hoping that one wins and putting all the resources on that one.
Cage, your statement is true and right, but they're not going to be able to find, and this is both the companies, find out what they're best at. You can never become the best if you're jumping from one thing to another. It's that kid
I get it.
who plays every sport, but he's not good at any because his parents just move him from every other.
What they're doing now is taking a pause and figuring out what the things that they did was and picking one and just focusing on that. Let's hope, right? And we'll see. I guess where I'm going with this is broader than StarStock, and it's just like we talk about the market overall. And every time we focus back and we say, look, Mahomes, his cards peaked when the market peaked. Look, guys, don't forget, you're very good at this. You always, when you look at the chart, you say, hey, guys, this was first quarter of last year when everything was going up. You could have basically take a dump, put it in a box, send it to PSA. They'll grade it a 10, and you could sell it on eBay for a lot more than it costs you to have the meal that you took, that caused the dump. You understand what I'm saying, right? It didn't make a difference what you did.
Yes.
You could buy anything. The companies that were coming out were also riding that wave. Right?
Right.
They were also riding that wave in early 21, late 2020, where everything they did made money because there were so many new people coming into it. Same thing with Top Shot. I mean, when you have all of this influx of cash and you happen to be there, right, then it's going to look good. What you do in that time to prepare for when that market softens, right, that's going to decide whether you are still in the market a year from then, 2 years from then, right, and how nimble you are. And unfortunately, if you try to expand too fast based on that 1 quarter or 2 quarter of craziness, then you're going to be too big when there's a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of slowdown. And we've seen that slowdown. We've seen that pullback, right? And look, not everybody is PSA that can just shut the doors and not take in any more money to fix the problem that was there, right? Not everybody is that, right? Not everybody is SGC. We've told SGC, right, in our conversation with them, we can send you thousands of cards from our group. And they said, no. We right now know what we can take, right? We have no shortage of cards, but we're not going to drop the price because we know what our sweet spot is, right? They've taken the data, they figure out what they're doing.
SGC did the reverse of most businesses. If you look at them in the last 48 months,
they
built their operations.
Too, right?
They had their issues, and then they built up their systems and operations.
Right? Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to get really good at grading cards for an affordable price in a timely manner.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about all the other hoopla and stuff. We're going to get really good at what our value prop is. And once we're really good at that, we're just going to focus on that. Like, and 2 things here, guys. I wish the people well. I have a lot of friends in that company. Some people I respect a lot. I wish them well. I care about them deeply.
I texted Scotty Greenberg today and said, hey, hearing stuff on Instagram, let us know if we can have you on. We can help you. He texted back. I could read the text if you want. I mean, it was they're assessing their situation, what they think is good, where they're going to go. And, they just obviously Raw is an interesting thing. I mean, I'm part of the problem. When they first accepted Raw, right, I sent in a shit ton of Raw. I sent in
that was last January, bro.
Yeah, but still, I have hundreds, maybe thousands of cards there that will never sell. That they're just vaulting for me for nothing. It was before they charged any money. And it was every box of Topps Chrome that I opened. I pulled every rookie out, and I just sent them all in. Here you go. I never heard of this guy, but it's a Chrome rookie. Send it in, baby. I'll get a nickel. You know what I mean?
I think business in 2022 moving forward is community driven. I think you got to treat your customers the best, and you got to treat your employees the best. What these backlogs and stuff, that doesn't show. That shows me that your employees aren't motivated because you haven't sold them a vision. You haven't got them to buy into a vision, because the work we do here, Cage, isn't that freaking crazy. There's thousands of people who want to work in sports and sports cards. You got to get them to believe in the vision that we're going to big places together. And I'm proud that we've done that. Look at the people that have worked with us, left. They do big things, Cage. We do big things after they leave. And they do big things. And I think that's what a culture should be, right? We take care of our employees. We have an employee who's our videographer. When we were tiny, I think we had a few hundred listens. He came on, joined the team, made quality content. Now he works with Buster Shirt and Hoops Nation, millions of viewers of his content. And you know what? We've grown too. We went from a few hundred listens to 2,000, 3,000 listens a day. I think that's cool, man. I think it's cool to see your employees win. They come in, you guide them, you mentor them, you give them an opportunity, and then they go and they work elsewhere. And they grow and they expand and they keep leveling up and they have good things to say about you. That's what I think it should be. You got to take care of your people. You got to take care of your community, and you got to take care of the people that work with you.
I hear you, man. I do. I mean, listen, I hope, because we talk about this with places, right? And we give credit to the companies that come on and say that we want the whole pie to grow. This way there's enough for everybody to share from, right? And listen, I think there are some areas of StarStock's business that they can exploit, that they could be the industry leader in, 100%, right? And I wish them well. We love those guys. They were our first sponsor, right? Remember, way back in the day, that was our first sponsor, right? But reserve judgment, I wish they would come on and talk, you know what I mean? Because right now, everybody's just left to the whole rumor mill, what's going on. And that the next thing you hear crazy terms. You hear bankrupt. You hear like all kinds of lunacy.
I declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's like The Office, exactly.
That's all I hear in my head when I hear bankruptcy. Like The Office was so good, they Pavlov'd me. You know what I'm talking about?
So, I mean,
I hear things and I just think of The Office.
I'm sure that's not happening, right? But the point is that if you're a company like that, you kind of gotta get out in front of it, because this community, it is real small.
Shreds.
What? What did you say?
They're gonna tear you to shreds if you don't come out and take ownership. They're like hyenas on a dead carcass. They'll rip that to shreds.
Well, I mean, they sense blood in the water, even when there is none. You know what I mean? The silence is sometimes taken as that. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks with StarStock. I have a lot of cards there. I have money in my account. I mean, so we'll see what happens.
Do you agree taking care of your people is important? Because we argue about this quite a bit.
I mean,
how to take care of them. Cage believes in taking care of them.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is, I think honesty and clarity of vision is the key, right? So if your employees are along for the ride, they have to understand what the ride is, and they also have to understand that the ride has ups and downs, right? And that some of those ups and downs are beyond your control. And I think that's part of being good to your employees, right? Or the people who are partners with you, right? That some of these things that happen are market driven and are not going to be your control, and your best plans aren't going to matter sometimes. But if you're upfront with folks and you let them know what your vision is, and then when you hit those bumps in the road, you let them know this is what's going on, and this is why we have to make this change. This is why we have to do this stuff. That's it's a big part of doing business the right way. Whether you're a huge company and you're messaging that out to people, or you're only a handful of folks just starting off. Very important that your vision, even if it changes, is known to the people who are building you up and supporting you. The company's only as good as what their front line puts out. What do you think? I think you gave a ton of great plays today. So I have one last question for you. Okay, one last question for you, and then I'll just let you go. Has Morant passed Luka in hobby relevance?
Hobby relevance, no, but I think he's better than Luka right now. Dude, I love that team. I'm telling you, I love watching this team play. He's crafty too around the rim. Like, he's a small guy, but his footwork around the rim, he had this one move, and he does it a lot. Like, he gets into the paint. He doesn't just try to dunk on you, though he does try to dunk on you a lot. He's very crafty, and he's good at switching hands. I think you guys, if you watch him, like, he gets into the lane, he does a pivot step, and he could finish with the left as well as with the right. Hobby relevant. Dude, I like Ja, man. I like Ja. He turned the corner for me this year, where it wasn't just like I'm an athlete. It was I can lead an offense and I know how to score in different ways. And I think that's really important. And dude, I think their competitive advantage people don't realize yet is their speed. That team is really fit, man. They're up and down all game. And I think a lot of teams, like I thought Utah would give them a little bit of a run yesterday. I actually didn't. I bet on the Grizz. But like that's a team that would typically give them problems. And I think how relentless this Grizz team is for 48 minutes on defense and on offense is a problem. So neck and neck. Luka's a darling, though. It's hard once you have that like Mount Rushmore, like the hobby young darling.
Well, I mean, he's not. Remember, he was the next generational talent, and if you go on Twitter or even on Instagram, there are people who are slick about what they post. And they'll post a Luka chart, like his base card, and they'll start it from the 3-pointer in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And it goes straight down. I mean, there you go. It depends on where you look at the chart, right?
That's tough, man. That's a tough looking chart.
So, I mean, it depends on the narrative, right? I mean, if you look at the last couple of months, it's basically a flat card. But yeah, it's a tough chart. I mean, it's real interesting. But if you go out enough, right? Yeah, it's flat.
It's flattening out. It's tough. I mean? It's tough when there's so much supply.
It's an interesting thing, man.
All right, 18K.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, Ja's prop is probably going up a little bit too. I mean, that Ja card. I can only imagine how many Ja base there are out there.
You got to play for us today?
Well, your plays were all of our analysis about those quarterbacks and that kind of stuff. At least I was trying to steer it towards those were your plays. Invest in this guy.
Okay.
I love the Jimmy G was going to be my play, but I wanted to have that kind of like analysis only because you hit the nail legit right on the head. I don't think there's any downside to him, but I think there is some sneaky potential upside because of the team success. If there's team success over the next week, the next 2 games, Jimmy G could be a sneaky little play here.
Literally, if he just wins 1 game. I'll give you guys a play, but it's different. Like it's something to think about. So while all of this stuff is going on, I still think one of the biggest brands that people don't talk about is Pokemon. And I think there's some kind of convention going on. I can't really understand what it is.
It's Leonhardt's pop-up shop.
Yes.
He's doing like a 90s style.
That community's cool. And Pokemon's going nowhere.
They're
My play is it to buy.
They're a little judgy, but it's okay.
How so?
I mean, they like what they like. Anyone new to the community is just chasing money. Is the initial. I mean, it's like that everywhere else. But I mean, for anybody who wants to really go knee deep in Pokemon, there's a message board, old style message board called E4, EFOUR.com, right?
Okay.
And it is everyone who's a Pokemon collector is on there. Gary, the Pokemon Charizard King, whatever. The guy from the case. With the Logan Paul stuff and basically anybody who's anybody. Jeremy Padower started a thread on there about, the first edition set and valuations and the whole deal. I'm on there. It took me a long time to get in. When you're new and you start coming in and you start talking about prices and values and investing, that crew is, look, they invest too, clearly. They make their money. But that crew's tough to it's a tough nut to crack. Because a lot of them they love the cards, and I think this is kind of going to bolster your point, right? They want people in the community who are not just in to flip. When Gary was talking about cards, they hated it before anybody hated it. They were like, "Oh, we don't really want it." It took a while for them to kind of take in Logan Paul, and that. So yeah, it's an interesting community.
So my play. And I speak of this because I did this, and there's 2 guys that helped me. Gem City Sports Card, Rick, if you're listening, he helped me a lot. He helped me with understanding.
Rick Shin, you introduced me to him at the National. Real nice guy and knows a lot of stuff. Real smart.
He explained to me how, what, and where to grade. Okay, and that was really helpful to understand. The nuances. The other day he told me, serial number 11, starting with 11 BGS is when they were easier on cards. Serial number 13 is when they started getting more harsh. Little things like that. This card would do better at PSA. This card would do better at SGC. This card would do better at BGS. And Bro Namath, believe it or not, even though he's such a know-it-all. I knew Brady was retiring. No, you didn't. And he's still not. He's such a know-it-all. But I love him, and he's helped me a lot.
Okay. It's okay to be confident when you're right more often than you're wrong.
Yeah. He's about 50-50, acting like he's more 60-40.
I think he's like 80-20.
20-80. But
No,
here's
80,
my play.
80 right.
There are some awesome Pokemon collectors who also collect sports cards. Follow them and ask them questions. Get to understand that world so that when there is another bull run, you're prepared. This is a good card to buy. Don't buy this one. Oh, if this card is running, maybe if the 1999 first edition is running, maybe look at the 1995 Pack Sun. Understand, there's so many people out there that you could go and follow and learn from. Build those connections. Build that bridge between, if you're a sports card collector, follow someone on that's a Pokemon collector that also sport card and ask questions. Get to know them. Build that bridge because that will help you.
I'm pretty sure there's some really nice. I'm pretty sure it was the PWCC Weekly that ends tomorrow. There's some really nice Pokemon stuff in that. A Chansey PSA 10. The card that makes me the Instagram model. I'm pretty sure there's one on there.
Yeah,
and
people
it's
love
cheap.
that card.
It's cheap. There's a Blastoise 10 first edition. Also, that one's over $20,000 already. The Chansey's about.
I'll show you my favorite card. I don't know anything about Pokemon, but I'm learning. I think this card's so cool.
The Ancient Mew.
Yeah.
Ian has one
Just
of those.
look. It
But I
looks
bought it
sick,
in,
right?
I bought it in like a PSA 4 for him. Yeah, the Ancient Mew is a cool card.
Is it even better in person?
Yeah, I mean it's cool. It's prismatic. It's like shiny.
Yeah.
It's a really cool card. Ancient Mew.
So this card, Ancient Mew in a 9, I think is only like a few $100. I think it's such a sweet card, man.
Mew's also a cool one to collect because Mew was the 151st Pokemon. It was a cool thing, that came out and it was so strong of a Pokemon. Mewtwo followed it up. Was like the strongest thing, out there and just decimated her. And then they kind of just did away with it. Not a lot of Mewtwo cards and but then Mewtwo was like the villain in I thought it was the villain in the Detective Pikachu movie. I like Mew. Mew is one of those cool little characters.
And this is interesting. It's Nintendo.
Yeah, the Japanese one. Yeah, Japanese promo.
It's not Nintendo, which all this stuff is cool. I'm curious about it. This is a card to look at. I think it's just a sick looking card. But get to know people and build those bridges, build those connections, learn a new space. The Pokemon
That's the movie
brand,
version. That one. That's different.
That's
the movie version. Yeah, that's the movie. Then there's a Japanese version. There's a lot, but it's a cool card. It's a really cool card. It's funny you find that stuff.
I think it's a nice looking card. Tomorrow, last show of the year, other than our Super Bowl show, on Whatnot, 10 a.m. Do you have some slabs to sell?
Yeah, I got some slabs. I got more Mason Greenwoods. I got some Ja. I'm gonna pull out some Ja. Remember that Hoops Premium Pulsar stuff? I got a Ja 10. I got a Ja 9. I got some interesting stuff. We also have some basketball slabs. I was gonna hang on to some basketball slabs, hoping that we did a Whatnot basketball show, which hopefully is still in the works after the All-Star break, after the Super Bowl and stuff. So that could be cool. It could be fun. But might as well sell some of those to you guys. But yeah, I'll list some tonight. The show's up. And we'll definitely have some slabs and have some fun with it. And then for the Super Bowl, guys, you should tune in for that show because I'm going to do a select box break from last year's select football.
Yeah, because you corny-ass motherfuckers who joined our fantasy football league wanted cash instead of a box break.
That was dumb. I would have given you that box as a champ of that league instead of
one league split the pot.
Yeah, instead of 900 cash or whatever the heck it was. I mean, that box is worth twice that.
What are we in high school? You guys can't make your own money?
We'll see what comes out of it too.
I love you guys. I'm just messing.
It'll be a nice Whatnot. Live there where we do a little box break, and hopefully people get a bargain on. We'll break a pack, and we'll auction up the pack. So it should be some fun. And we got collectible, the fractional report before the opening bell. We'll record that tomorrow night as well.
Speaking of packs, gun to your head.
Mm-hmm.
Mint pile. Are you selling it or opening it?
I'm hanging on to it. I'm watching. I will. If it breaks away from a 2-to-1 on the floor clones, I might sell the vial. That's what you think is going to happen. But if it stays 2-to-1, and I only really have a 50% downside, but significant more upside, I may open the damn thing, and we'll see what happens.
I already know what's in there. I contacted the artifact. It's going to be a gold samurai with my face on it.
With your face. And I don't want that.
No,
I don't want to clone.
That's gonna literally drop the floor of all the artifacts.
That would be very weird. Well, listen, guys, it's another fun episode here. We hope you enjoyed it. A little bit different. Get Andrew's opinion on some football. Maybe we'll start to work that in as the basketball season progresses and we see what the playoffs are going to look like and that kind of stuff. We'll work in a weekend. Hey, Andrew, what do you think about investing in this guy at this point in time? We'll do 4 or 5. Yeah, shoot.
One more last thing.
Yeah.
All you guys out there, and I wasn't a Wiggins fan either. We need to do better in general, and I need to do better at this, but just this is kind of like a lesson for me that I'm putting out in public. Be happy for others, even if you disagree, right? Like the guy worked hard. He's changed his game. He's defended really well. A lot of people are out there like he doesn't deserve it, right? You saw that. Like a lot of people think he doesn't deserve being a starter in the All-Star game. Be happy for the guy, man. He turned his career around, and we're so quick to shit on people when they're busts. What about when they go somewhere and fresh start and they really make the most of it? I think it's a little bit cool. I
think they're rewarding the team, right? The team's had some success. He's been a huge part of that success. The team, obviously, the fans obviously came out and voted for it. Guys, in the early 90s, I will tell you, I was a Knicks fan. I like Patrick Ewing. Obviously I grew to respect and love Michael Jordan because he just destroyed us every year. But there was a year that John Starks and Charles Oakley were all-stars with Patrick Ewing. These are not, the best players ever. I mean, they were names, but the team was really good. The team was going to go on and have a hell of a run, and they were winning way more games than they were losing, and that gets rewarded. And I wouldn't go too nuts on the All-Star stuff because what we found about sports is the voting systems for these kind of pageant type of awards, they're all flawed. From the Hall of Fame vote in baseball, from the sports writers to how, baseball all-stars with getting all the Kansas City in, or when it was in Cincinnati, half the Cincinnati Red team started because the game was at home. It's the same kind of stuff, and guys, if you didn't want Wiggins in because you thought the player on your team should have been in over him, you should have voted more. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. The fans of whoever else, was second to him or should have been in, for the most part, you get it right. I mean, are people complaining that DeMar DeRozan's a starter? Right? I mean, he's had an all-star starter season, right? I mean, he deserves it, right? So, look, sometimes it happens and somebody sneaks in. Who would you put above him?
Thank you for asking. I would start, here would be mine, and it would be a little bit weird, but I'd put Booker at the 3. I would be Chris Paul, John Morant, Devin Booker, LeBron, Jokic. In my opinion,
So no Steph?
I don't think Steph deserves it. And I love Steph. I don't think he's been shooting as well as he should be. And his team's not even first in the West. Booker and Paul are a better duo.
You would have Booker and Paul.
Yeah,
the backcourt from the Suns.
Yeah, Suns are good, man. Suns are very good. A lot of people sleep on them. First in the West. First in the whole league.
Excellent. And the best season team. They're the Jazz from the 90s.
And who's Booker in that scenario?
Maybe John Stockton. I guess that's Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Maybe he's Jeff Hornacek. I don't know. That's not the point. They didn't have a Karl Malone. But the point is they're the Jazz, meaning they won a shit ton of games. And then when it mattered, they didn't.
Well, first off, the All-Star Game is a regular season award. Or mid-season award. It's
that's
not
true.
They're not going to.
Playoffs are stopping because they're number 1 in the West. But I mean, Steph and the Golden
State are
State,
number 1 in the West. That's just a fact.
Yeah, but Steph and Golden State are not that far behind them, and they are a team of champions. Which yes,
you don't get the award for All-Star Game from like previous years.
Yeah, but the All-Star starting, which is what we're talking about, is a fan vote. So the fan vote doesn't say, "Hey, by the way, fans, only take into account what has happened this season from game 1 to when you're voting and look at who's first place in the West." They say to the fans, here's who's on the ballot. Vote for who you want. There's no
1,000%. And I think your response is actually pretty cool because it does feel very disrespectful to Curry and his brand and his reputation. Like, you're going to bring Curry off the bench. The guy just hit he broke the record for 3-pointers in like 5
I don't care about that record, but I understand what you're saying.
No, and I love Curry, man. I talked about Curry last year, March, when they got right before they got knocked out by the Lakers. I said, watch out for this Warriors team, all that stuff. I'm not saying Curry isn't deserving. I just have watched this Suns team, dude. This Suns team is a very good team, and a lot of people sleep on them. You're saying they're a regular season team, but the fact
until they're not
is this, Cage. They went 8-0 in the bubble.
Yep.
Then the next season they made it to the finals, and then the season after that they're first in the league by a mile. So, and this is with a lot of young talent and Cam Johnson who's stepping up and playing well. Mikal Bridges stepping up and playing well. Dude, they plugged Bismarck Biyombo in there and as their third string center and blow teams out by 10, 15 points. So
should I sell some Cam Johnson slabs tomorrow? Think people would like
Cam
that?
Johnson's good, man. People don't realize he's 22 years old, 23 years old.
Oh my God, some Cam Johnson
a little older.
So I'm going to ask you, and we'll end on this because it's already an hour and 10 minutes. Do you think this is the year the Suns win the championship?
We're going to see one of the best Western Conference Finals I think we've seen in a long time. Yeah, if the Warriors Suns meet that.
Come on,
well, dude,
yes or no?
Well,
come on, this could be one of your great takes. This could be one of your great takes. Yes, they're going to win. Or no.
Well, I just give you just real quick. I give you a really great take that the Suns and the Warriors are going to meet in the Western Conference Finals. I think it's going to be one of the best ones we've ever seen because these teams actually play team ball. They move off the ball. The ball doesn't stick in people's hands.
So where are the Warriors right now in the West?
Second.
And where are the Suns?
First.
So your great take is that the 1 and 2 seeds are going to meet in the Western Conference Championship game? That's an amazing take. I mean, I don't know why I even say anything on these shows.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't know why either.
I love you, man. I really do.
How much of that, the answer to your question, depends on health? That's 60 days away.
I throw this out there because, listen, you've had some real right calls, right? I mean, I said by Ja in October. You said by Steph a year and a half ago, right? And they were both huge money-making plays. I'd love to go back if the Suns win the championship and say, at this time, even though they were the 1 seed, no one was saying they were going to win the championship except this man right here. But I'm not going to make you say it just to have a take. I was curious. You watch the games. You've talked about them playing. You say they play team ball. You've watched them. Do you think they've progressed enough? Because remember, they were in the finals last year. So the next logical step, if they've gotten better than last year, if their young players are stepping up, if Chris Paul has finally reached the pinnacle of his, if Booker is stepping up, if Ayton is doing his thing, if Cam Johnson, the next step for them would be winning the championship because they got there already last year. So that's where my question lies. And you don't have to go out there. I mean,
they're good enough. Injuries are super weird. Injuries are super weird. Yeah, because Ayton hasn't played that much, dude.
Yep.
Injuries are a very weird thing. Trade deadline is a very weird thing. I think I'll be able to say more in March. I think they're good enough. I think why they're competing for that first seed is I think they believe that last year, if they had the first seed, they might have won because I went 7 games.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we shall see. We shall see.
Peace, Luka
And that's
Nation.
an episode. Thanks, everybody.